Well, good morning. And with a bit of fun of
Hello.
the music playing. So Anna and I are here for yet another webinar. Morning, Anna.
Yes, good morning, Peter. So good to be here. And if you're watching us live or recording, welcome. It's a great pleasure to be here with you today and to
So
share
we're
something
live.
special.
We're live on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on YouTube currently. If you've got any comments or questions, we've got chat box open, which I'll keep my eyes open. If the questions come up whilst we're making this presentation, happily give them to you. And we're looking forward to it. We've got 60 minutes to give you some thoughts and ideas about our favorite subject, which is speaking, storytelling, speaking. And it's great fun, the two of us, to share some thoughts and ideas. Anna, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Peter. Well, I think our first speaker, you're going to love hearing our first speaker. There's only two, but first speaker is really special. And if you know Peter Roper, this man doesn't need introduction. But if you don't know him, here are some few interesting things about him. So he's been in business for a lot of years, like almost three decades. Don't worry, he's not that old. He started really young.
Yeah.
But he's been really passionate about building his own businesses and helping others develop and grow their businesses. Now, he's had over these years 6 businesses, 3 of which were phenomenally successful, and 3 not so much. But guess which ones presented the most valuable lessons? So he knows a thing or two about business, success, entrepreneurship, and he's also very passionate about helping other business owners grow and develop their businesses. And he has worked with thousands, literally thousands of family business owners in the UK, helping them grow and develop. So he is really passionate about it, and he knows a thing or two about it. But he also knows a thing or two about speaking. Having shared his keynote presentations and speeches in front of more than 750,000 delegates across the world, I mean, that's a lot of people, nearly 1 million people, imagine that. He has gained the reputation of being a natural presenter, because you get the same Peter Roper on stage and off stage. He will make you laugh, he will inspire you, he will educate you, entertain you, and equip you with tools to improve your results. He will make you think as well. So when he's going to speak, you have to listen, because he has a wealth of wisdom to share. Peter Roper is also the author of 6 books, and one of which, called And Death Came Third, became New York Times bestseller in the first 12 hours. That's an interesting fact. So Peter has got all of these achievements, all of these success stories and learning lessons. But the most important thing about this man, that I'm so privileged and grateful to have him as a partner in this particular venture, is that he's the man who cares. He's a man of integrity, and it brings him an incredible joy to see other people succeed. So please help me welcome to the virtual stage, Peter Roper.
Thank you, Anna. It's very kind of you. I'm trying to think myself if you're talking about somebody else, if I'm honest. But yeah, I am known. Oh, bless you. You forget what you've done when you get older. That's the thing. And yes, it's true. I've done quite a few things, and I've been blessed with that. I've been blessed in many ways. And as you say, I've learned far more from getting it wrong than from getting it right. But I think, isn't that true with most people? Isn't that true with most people generally? So
Absolutely. Yeah.
what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some slides up and just share some thoughts and ideas to it. I'm going to chat for a little bit, and then we're going to have Anna to explain some ideas. And at the end of it, we're going to let you know about a program we're running in 2024, and we're very excited about it. But you won't get a heavy sell on it, because that's not our way. We believe in being ethical and honest. So yes, something at the end of this, if you want to take advantage of it, you can check it out. It's that easy, that simple. So if I just add this onto here, and I will share with you these slides for now. I think speaking is such a big deal. It is such a big deal, which is why I've been doing it for so long. Yes, it's true. One of these latest slides of me, I've still got some hair, not a lot, but there you go. And both Annie and myself have lived in Worcestershire now for many years. And ironically, Anna and her husband live about 3 or 4 miles from us. But I will tell you more about Anna and the fact that the background from Ukraine when I've explained a few things. So let's come on to this. Let's just ask the simple question, which is why the heck are you here right now? Why are you investing 60 minutes of your life to listen to 2 people talking about getting more confident when speaking? And it's the number one. It's the one that I was running a program only yesterday with a good client of mine. And I asked 14 people in a room, why are you here? Why is it that you want to know about speaking, presenting? And it's different for many people. And it's the question I'd ask of you now. Why? What made you take time out to do this? What would make you take more time out to develop and grow and get better at it? Well, I think there's a number of reasons. So depending on where you're coming from, it might be that you have a career of some sort and you want to improve it. You want to be the person that stands up and shines. You want to be the person that is listened to. Maybe you're employed, for instance, and because of that you want to move on and ahead in your business roles. And there is no doubt being confident when you're in front of people makes a big difference. As I said yesterday, it's a huge difference, at least in mindset terms, of when you're talking with a group of people around a table to when you suddenly stand up and make a presentation. There's this micro switch that goes off in our brains that says, wow. And there's no doubt if you can speak and present in your own way, and I stress in your own way, in other words, being naturally yourself, not being a poor copy of somebody else, just being naturally yourself can make a huge difference in your career. So perhaps that's the reason why you're here right now. And if you are, good for you that you're taking the time out to do it. Maybe you're running your own business, or maybe you're being asked to go get business. Maybe you're in the sales profession, marketing profession, what have you, or you run your own business, and quite simply you want to get more business. Well, there is no doubt that the number one way of doing that is to be standing up in front of people and talking. All right, it's great to be sitting side by side by somebody, maybe in a sales environment where you're speaking to each other on a one-to-one basis, but there will be times when you have to make presentations and to get more business. And frankly, the standard of business presentations is probably no better now than it was 40 years ago when I started making presentations. I had a corporate life till I was 40, and I was the world's worst salesperson. There's no 2 ways about it. I did grow. I did learn. I had some good mentors. I did a lot of studying, and eventually I became a top performer, and I grew up the corporate ladder. And one of the key things I had to learn, whether I liked it or not, and you'll understand more in a few minutes why I didn't like it at first, was that you got to be able to present. You've got to be able to get on your feet and present. And if you go up the business ladder, you'll make more and more presentations. If you get into a managerial position, you will have to stand in front of people and make presentations. So absolutely, it helps you to get more business, or for those people that you employ, depending on whether you're running your own business or you're part of a larger organization. Perhaps it's to become the authority in your field. And that's a gratuitous picture, quite deliberately, that I put in there, which is, I don't know about you, but life out there is challenging. In terms of business, at least, it's challenging, and it's very hard to stand out. It really is hard to stand out. And although what we're doing right now with a webinar, the whole social media thing, we're going out on social media all over the place right now, which is brilliant. It's fantastic. All right. And it just means that you're just blowing in the breeze. So you want to be the one that actually stands out. And to do that, you need to be known as an authority in what you do. The more you can do that, the more that you've got an opportunity to progress and move forward. And again, speaking and presenting is fundamental to that, because as an authority, you will be asked to make presentations. I've got a good friend who has had to make some presentations recently because of the health issues he's had. Something that it's anathema to him to stand up and speak and present. Absolutely, it's not for him. But he's been doing it because the decision was that he wanted to share the knowledge that he's got, through health issues, and he is an authority. He is an absolute authority on it. But he's had to learn to get through the minefield and be able to speak and present and be confident in doing it. I don't say necessarily lose the nerves. Nerves are good for you. I've been speaking an awful lot, as Anna says, but I still get nerves before I stand up and speak. And it's right that you do, because if you've got no nerves, it means you don't care. And if you don't care, you're not going to be that good. So absolutely, caring about being an authority in your field is a big deal. Maybe that's what it is for you. Maybe it's just purely and simply, and there's nothing wrong with this at all, perhaps it's for recognition. There are many people who are in the quiet part of an arena. They might work for a business, and this might be you. Maybe you on a day-to-day basis are a quieter person, but actually just would like to be recognized occasionally for what you do, or what your team does, or what your business does, or whatever it is for you. And actually, just by making a presentation, people would actually go, do you know what? I hadn't realized that. I actually saw this happen a few days ago with someone who is quite quiet and shy, quite reserved, and absolutely there's nothing wrong with that. That's how they are. And they have the opportunity to make a presentation. And afterwards, in their own way, they made a great presentation. And afterwards, the amount of people that then chatted to that individual and said, I didn't realize a number of things. And all of a sudden, they view that person in a very, very different way. So speaking and presenting, getting better, getting more confident is a big deal. It's absolutely a big deal. But you might be being held back. So the question is, and again, it might be the reason that you're on this webinar right now, is that something's holding you back. And for me, most times, it's probably one of these reasons. It could be you're a bit scared about the lack of knowledge you have, or the experience you have. And therefore, because you don't feel you've got enough knowledge and experience, you don't feel justified to stand up and speak. Well, actually, in terms of speaking, the only way that you can get good at speaking is to speak. Back in 2003, when I got very serious about speaking, I actually spoke 153 times in 1 year. It was madness. I spoke anytime, anywhere, any place that anybody would have me. And the reason I did it was so that I could learn to become comfortable in myself. And the biggest thing I learned was that I learned what I couldn't do. I learned what abilities I did have, but I also learned what I wasn't good at, and actually it didn't suit me. And I'd learned to become myself. And people call me the natural presenter, as Anna said. The biggest compliment I've ever had on a number of occasions is people say Peter's exactly the same. And that's what my intention was for doing that back in 2003. I learned about myself. Now, I'm not saying you have to make 153 presentations in a year. That was bonkers. But there's no doubt the more you speak and present, the more comfortable you'll be in yourself. Even if it's not something you want to do lots, you will be better at it. So, of course, as with everything, you need knowledge and perhaps some experience. Now, we can provide both of those in the program that we're doing, which we'll talk about later. Or maybe it's just simply that you don't actually believe you can do it. And I've come across this so many times when people say, oh, no, I couldn't make a presentation. I couldn't stand up and speak. And I'll ask them why, and they give me all sorts of reasons, but I know the reason why. 99.9% of the time, the reason is simply that people are held back by this. There's the gratuitous picture of a cat, a big cat, which pleases Anna because she loves cats. Okay, that picture scares me to death, right? Fear. Fear is the thing that holds most people back from speaking, presenting. Fear from being made to look stupid. Fear that people will say nasty things to you. Fear that people won't like what you're saying. All right? Fear. It's understandable. And I get it. And Anna was very kind in explaining that, all this stuff that I've done. But you know what? Let me just give you a couple of thoughts about that. As Anna said, my co-author, Andy Lepatra, and I, back in 2006, co-authored a book called And Death Came Third, which is about networking and speaking in public. And everyone says, why on earth did you call it And Death Came Third? Well, very simply, in a 1984 New York Times survey of our top 10 fears, snakes came seventh, spiders came sixth, and death came third. Can you believe death came third? Walking into a room full of strangers and speaking in public are the number one and number two, and each year they run this, but this program to see if people's minds have changed. It always is number one and number two. Walking into a room full of strangers and speaking in public. So we would rather leap into a pit of snakes and spiders and die than stand up in front of a group of people and speak, which is bonkers. It is absolutely bonkers. But it's a very real fear for people. And I get it. And people say, well, no, Peter, I mean, you're obviously born to speaking, blah, blah, blah. And it's not true at all. It's not true at all. People that know me know that, I am not the center, I want to be the center of attention and be the life and soul of a party. I'm actually, I can be quite shy. But I learned things. Here's the thing I learned. Here's a gratuitous picture of a young man. I don't know what that says behind there, but it's the closest picture I could find of somebody who looked a bit like me. I'm 67 years old now, so if you can picture that was an equivalent of me back when I was 11 years old. I went to a UK state boys grammar school, and it's not a place that I enjoyed for 5 years between 11 and 16, but there was one thing I could do, and the one thing I could be was the kid that would read in front of the class, because nobody else would do it. And one day I did it, and then I got stitched up to do it whether I liked it or not, and I found I could do it reasonably well, so I would read something out. And on this one particular day, the English teacher, who didn't like me and I didn't like him, asked me to read a poem called Tiger, Tiger by William Blake. And interestingly, when I was speaking yesterday and I mentioned that poem, 4 people said, oh, I know this poem. All right, it's very famous, Tiger, Tiger. And I read it out in my best Birmingham accent. So I started reading it as Tiger, Tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night. And I finished reading it, and he said, Roper, what is the poem about? And I said, it's about a tiger, sir. And he looked at me and said, you are a cretin with a Birmingham accent. Don't ever stand up and speak in this school again. Now, some people laugh. Some people say, oh, that's terrible. And some people want to give me a hug. All right. That's how this story works. But the truth is, I never did. I never did do the one thing I knew I could do in school for the rest of my 5 years that I was there, which is a shame, because I then went and started working at 16, and I think I was about 18, 19. I was working for a motor manufacturer, and I was involved in a training program, and I got involved with it. At the end of it, without realizing, I got stitched up in more than one way because I was young and naive and didn't understand about corporate politics. And I was told with a couple of days' notice that I was to speak in front of the whole business. Now, I've got a picture that kind of represents it for me, which is this. All right, because it's in black and white, and that's kind of in those days how it was. You didn't have color slides or anything. You just literally stood in front of a dais, and you had slides prepared, and you literally read them out. That's how it worked then. All right, and it was very much an auditorium like this with 1,000 people in. There are the 1,000 people that I worked with as a 20-year-old, shy 20-year-old. And I thought of everything to try and get out of this. I was going to say, oh, no, I'm ill on the day. But in the end, I went in and I literally walked upstairs, not dissimilar to those, and stood in front of a dais to read out to everybody. And I held on to that dais with just like grim death. And the reason was my legs had completely gone. If I'd have let go, I would have fallen down. I was that scared. And I started reading it out. And if you have to understand, I was stitched up twice, because what I didn't realize was that the message that had actually been written for me to read out was bad news for a lot of people, particularly my boss's boss, and my boss's boss's boss. And so as I started reading this stuff out, they looked at me like thunder. And I knew they weren't happy, right? And I'd looked to some friends in the audience for at least some moral support. This is what happened. They looked down. They looked away. They didn't want to engage at all. So I got no moral support. And when I looked at the boss and the boss's boss and the boss's boss's boss, expecting fire and brimstone, but when I actually looked at them, they looked down too. And so I finished saying what I was saying, and there was quite a fallout after it. But I learned a very small lesson. And that lesson was that they were just as nervous as I was, because if I'd actually picked on them and asked them a question, they'd have been terrified. So it was a small but very important lesson for me. And as I went through life, I realized that what I needed to do was to get better at this. And I went in, as I said, as the worst salesperson. I went into sales purely because they gave you a free car and they gave you more money. And I had young kids with another one on the way. And I knew it was the only way that we could do what we needed to do. And what I did was that I became a student. I had mentors over the years. I became a student. I read loads of books. I went to all sorts of conventions, all sorts of stuff to get better at things. And eventually one day, I actually got stitched up to speak in front of 750 people with 90 seconds notice in America back in 1999. And that started my speaking career. And sometime in the future, perhaps I'll share the story of that. But what I've learned is speaking is something that you can learn. Presenting is something you can learn. The biggest thing is to recognize that you have all the attributes necessary to be a natural presenter, to be, in other words, yourself. You have everything. But what you probably do need to do is have somebody along the way that can steer you of some of the shortcuts that you can take. So not to make the daft mistakes I've made. And I can tell you I've made probably thousands of mistakes when speaking. And I don't think I'm the world's greatest speaker by any means. I know I'm not. I know I'm reasonable. I know I can do a number of things to get a message across, to get my point across. So that's what I want to share with people, not only now, but in the future. And I know Anna feels very similar about it, which is why we said, look, let's get this together and share our knowledge and experience. And let's see what we can do together. And we produced a program, which I'm chuffed to bits about. So it's all about learning. It's all about dealing with people. And I would just say this because I'll say it on behalf of the two of us, which is, yes, we are expert at what we do. And the platform we're going to tell you at the end might just be for you. And all we're going to do is say, check it out. And if you like the look of it, obviously sign up if you want to, or just get in touch with us. But what you won't get is unethical selling and a poor trust factor. We're not here absolutely selling you everything where, you know what, in 3 seconds, we're going to teach you how to earn £10,000 an hour or whatever the latest bonkers offering that you see on a daily basis. What we can promise you is some tried, tested and proven practical tips and techniques that will make you better if you apply them. And that's what we're about. And yes, we're quite happy to say that costs money. And you either decide whether that is value for you or not. But that's the way that we work. So you're not going to see all that rubbish from us. But what you are going to hear is a little bit more about what you can do and about how you can improve yourself. So at the end of this 60 minutes, even if you decide not to do something with us, at least you take something away. From my perspective, it's all about being a natural presenter. It's all about being yourself and to become a student to get better at it. And the program is Speak with Impact and Elevate Your Business. So with that in mind, I'm going to tell you about Anna. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stop that slide like that. So I will do just as soon as the button works. There you go. So Anna comes from Ukraine and she comes from poverty. She comes from a place where life was tough. It was challenging and she grew up in poverty and all that went with it. I know she's going to share some of her story. But I think the important parts that you need to take are that when she was a little girl, she wasn't thinking about being a speaker. She was thinking about how to become better and how to have a better life. And that meant going to America. She had a dream of going to America. And her family and friends said, no, you'll never do that. But Anna is a very determined woman. And she saved up and did what she had to do. And she made a dream happen. And she got to America. And that in itself is a story in itself. And one day you'll probably hear it. Then she learned that the American dream isn't quite what everybody thinks it is. And actually, it's very good if you've got money in America. I know because my son and his family are there. And it's the land of the plenty if you have plenty. And she learned that working 3 jobs and God knows how many hours actually wasn't the dream. And then eventually she found the thing that she really loved, which was speaking. And helping people to speak and present. And she became a student. Just as I said that I became a student, she became a student of this whole game called speaking and presenting. And that led to a career where she shared the stage with some of the biggest name speakers, certainly in America, and on a worldwide basis. So Anna knows what she's talking about. She brings a different perspective. She has reminded you that she is substantially younger than me. And you may have noticed by now she's also female. So there you go. So you've got a different perspective. That's a millennial perspective. Is that right, Anna? I think it's millennial.
Yes.
Yeah, you're going to have female perspective, a millennial perspective, a Ukrainian perspective, an American perspective. To look at how speaking and presenting not only makes such a difference in your life, but actually it can become a passion. So, Anna, over to you.
Thank you, Peter. Yes, well, as you were talking about me, I thought it was someone else, but then I realized, well, I am from Ukraine and I did go to America as well. But yeah, so I'm absolutely convinced that speaking and storytelling can change your life because it has changed mine. Now, my story isn't just about overcoming poverty in Ukraine and building my life on my own in America, which I describe. I mean, it's a long story, obviously, overcoming lots of challenges and obstacles and frustrations. I described that journey in two of my books, Create the Life You Dream About, that I published 6 years ago, and Your Story is Your Power book that I recently published. But it wasn't just about building life in a different country. For me, it was also about discovering my identity and really realizing and finding where I belong in life. Because as Peter kindly mentioned, there were times when I worked at 3 jobs, manual work. I didn't have any professional skills or qualifications. I was young, naive, and I didn't really speak English. So the jobs that were available to me were like waitressing jobs, which I'm really grateful for because it allowed me to learn English and to talk to people. And I gained confidence in being in my own skin, really, because that's how I started connecting with people. But I wasn't satisfied with it. I wanted more. At some point, I realized, I remember it was one night shift in a restaurant. I had that epiphany moment that I was in America, in the land of opportunities, in the land of dreams, but I was working just as hard as I was in Ukraine, in my own country, without any opportunities or any dreams. That wasn't the American dream I was going for. And I made a decision that night that no matter what it's going to take me, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to change my results. And in that soul searching, I didn't know what that was initially, but I discovered my passion for speaking and storytelling in particular. I started sharing my story because I transformed my life. I moved on my own from a different country. I escaped poverty. I escaped that shame and guilt. I was mocked and humiliated at school. I was ashamed of my poverty. I was loved by my parents, but I didn't have friends. I was awkward socially. I didn't know how to fit in. I desperately wanted to belong, but I didn't know how to be accepted. So I had a story to tell, and I wanted to inspire other people to think bigger for themselves, to elevate their results, because you can be, do, and have more. And I was petrified, of course. Peter talked about the fear of public speaking. And for me, apart from fear in speaking and embarrassing yourself in front of an audience, my English wasn't that great at the time. But I was courageous enough to step and embrace that growth journey with lots of failures and mistakes and nearly fainting on stage, at first when I first started presenting, but it's okay because I learned a lot from all those challenges. But an interesting thing I discovered is that an American audience was resonating with my messages. I couldn't really believe it. But then I realized that no matter who we are, where we come from, what language we speak, what cultural background we have, we are all the same at the core, at a heart and soul level. We want the same things, we have similar aspirations, similar dreams, and we have the same fears, the same doubts. That's what unites us as human beings. And I've been privileged, really, and I'm so grateful for having shared stages with John Maxwell and Nick Vujicic and Seth Godin. And I spoke internationally as well. I spoke a lot when I lived in America. Now I'm obviously here in the UK. That's my husband to blame, okay? He took me from sunny and posh Miami and brought me to gloriously grey England. Even though it's not so bad today, it's actually, there is some sunshine. But the biggest reward to me was hear people say, after I presented and shared my story, is when people say, you've inspired me with your story to pursue my own life of greatness. Now, if a simple girl like me, without any special talents or gifts or some qualifications, could find clarity and certainty in her voice, you can as well. And I'm absolutely convinced that speaking and clear message, expressing clear message, can change your life, can elevate your results. But why speaking? Well, Peter talked about it a little bit, but I want to share with you an example in the business building context. So what do most business owners want? Well, when you think about it, most of them, with few exceptions, want more money and more clients, right? Because that's how success is measured traditionally. It's a fair aspiration because that's what gives oxygen to your business. You can measure success in such a way. However, if you imagine an analogy of an iceberg, and I'm going to share with you my iPad in just a second. Hold on, technology. Right, there it is. Where is my... So if you imagine an analogy of an iceberg, right? Everything above the water level is shallow. But everything below the water level is deep. And it gets deeper the further down you go. Now, you can't be shallow and deep at the same time. A shallow approach to building and growing any business elicits shallow thinking. And the greatest form of shallow thinking is asking a question, how do I get more clients and make more money? A deep approach to building and growing a business elicits deep thinking. And the greatest form of deep thinking is asking a question, how do I connect with my audience in an authentic and ethical way? What is the true meaning of the impact I'm doing or I want to do? How do I express that? You see, most people operate here on a shallow level. Just show me how to increase my results, tangible results. In other words, asking more about paying clients, leads, and more sales and more money is a pretty shallow conversation, because it's like looking at an iceberg that perks at the tip of the iceberg, this bit, right? That perks up right above the water level. And it's only 10% with what's happening, what's actually going on. 90% is below the water level, the stuff that we can't see. But that's where the real majesty is. The real majesty is at the base. The more leads and more clients is a fair question, but it isn't the right question. So what I would love to do is to focus on how to make the base the powerhouse, because icebergs are always going to move in the direction of the base. So I want you to imagine what your life and business would look like. And again, I'm using this business example, but it's applicable to any area really, if you're in career or you have a job. But what would it mean to you if you had clarity on how to express the value of what you do with certainty and persuasion, but in an ethical and authentic way? Not pushy and salesy, hardcore techniques. We don't like that. But what would it mean to you to have that clarity in your thinking on how to express the value of what you do in an ethical and persuasive way? Would that be important to you? Share with us if you're watching it live, or send us a message. We would love to hear from you, because we'd like to know that it's resonating. But if you are listening to this, it's probably important to you, having that clarity, value, and persuasion. However, I believe that it gets deeper than that. I believe that you absolutely have the power to become an authentic impact maker. And that's where the power of stories comes into play. You absolutely can become that authentic impact maker when you can claim that transformational presence about you. And having that clarity and confidence and ability to express yourself powerfully will become a natural consequence. Now, let me share a little story to show you that it's absolutely possible for you to become that authentic impact maker. I'm going to share with you a story of one of my clients, Michelle De Stefano. That's her picture. She is holding my book, my first book. She came to me because she wanted to launch her coaching business. Grow her coaching business. She had a fantastic career, being a nurse leader for 30 years. And then one day, all of a sudden, she was let go. And after a short period of pity party, she got a grip, took plunge, and jumped into that scary and exciting world of entrepreneurship. And soon enough, she realized that it was very challenging for her to express the value of what she could do to her clients. She knew who her audience was, but when it came to creating a compelling and powerful message, she struggled a little bit. She wasn't very clear on how to leverage her expertise and her experience and her story in a powerful and impactful way. So we got to work together. Now, Michelle, she's an action taker. She was showing up. She was like amazing to work with. And together we have developed this program that, she developed it. It's all credit to her, which she calls SOAR, that she takes her clients on, because she jumped. That was her story. That was her experience. She jumped, she soared, and she landed on her feet. She was so happy because she was getting traction. It was hitting the spot. The message was resonating with people. It was connecting with people. But after some time, a few months, she realized that she was trading time for money. It was actually more like about 6 months. And she couldn't really scale and grow her business. So she came up with this idea to launch her inner circle, or a high-end mastermind group. Her goal was to sign 10 clients, and she kept updating me via emails what she was doing, and what at first it was a little bit challenging, getting it out there, but then she started signing up people fast, and she kept sending me these emails of, I signed 6 and then 7 and 9. She actually signed 10 or 11 people, but she didn't send me the email. I have this proof, and I was so excited for her. Now, what it means is that she has now 10 or 11 people that have committed to stay within her mastermind group for a year, like financially committed. So that gives that certainty and, that sense of achievement and a recognition really in business that, she was so excited. And she also has secured a lot of speaking opportunities. Well, not a lot, but a few speaking opportunities to showcase her business even further. It all started with her clearly identifying the value she wanted to provide to her audience and expressing it with certainty and conviction. She embraced that role of being an authentic impact maker. There is no reason why you can't do the same. You absolutely can become an authentic impact maker when you let your story make you different and unique on the marketplace, because you are, but it's about how you express it. So let's talk a little bit about that. Well, I want to share with you this simple graph of 4 quadrants. So first we have to consider there are 4 quadrants that people can occupy when it comes to speaking and presenting. So first we have to consider how you show up. And most people show up to impress. But when you show up to impress, it's about you. But when you show up to inspire, it's no longer about you, but it's about your audience and making a bigger impact. But so on the other side, it's also about how you position your value. And a lot of people, especially those who are just starting their speaking journey and they haven't really clarified their message, it appears to be a little bit shallow and confusing. They're not that clear on how to express their unique value and how to position it in a way that people would want to hear. However, if you find out how to position your profound value in a simple and easy to understand way, everything changes for you. Now, depending on how you show up and how you position your value, what are those quadrants that you can occupy? Well, if you show up to impress your audience, it's all about you and how much you know, really. And if you really haven't figured out how to position your value in a clear and persuasive way, you occupy this space, this red zone of what I call being the copycat. You're just demonstrating how much you know, how much you've read. But basically, you're just regurgitating the same old ideas, concepts, and quotes. And it's not you. It's not that connecting. And it's basically creating a noise. And there is a lot of noise these days. It's a red zone. On the other side, and you probably have seen a lot of people who have figured out how to express their profound value in a simple and easy to understand way that anyone can get. But if they show up from the place of trying to impress people, their audience, they occupy this space of what I call being the ego person. Hey, look at me. I'm a big shot. I'm here to share my secret weapon, secret knowledge. But, it's all about me and sharing my power, being in the spotlight. And I don't really care about you, where you are and your results. We've seen those people, right? They might be successful and they might be really good at marketing, but it's not an authentic impact maker way, because you have to make a shift in order to embrace that role of being an authentic impact maker. You have to make a shift on an emotional scale, which is right here in how you show up, from trying to impress your audience to inspire your audience. And when you do that, things begin to shift. Things begin to align for you. And we have seen, my husband and I, we run a Conscious Coaching Academy, and we work with a lot of coaches and business owners really who want to create a bigger impact on other people's lives. And we have seen that a lot of people haven't really figured out how to, even though they want to inspire other people and they want to add value to other people, but they haven't figured out how to position their value, what their value is, what makes them different, why people should work with them. And so their value is really shallow and confusing. And when you can't really express what makes you different and how unique your message is, you occupy the space of what I call being an amateur. An amateur makes these awkward attempts at sharing their voice, sharing their stories, but it's not crystal clear yet. It's not that coherent. It's a little bit all over the shop. It's a bit confusing. And there is a lot of room for growth. Now, our goal for you is to occupy this top quadrant out here, which is dark green zone. And this is where you know how to inspire your audience. You know how to connect with their hearts, how to open their minds. And you can position your value, your profound value, in a simple and easy to understand way. You occupy the space of what we call being a respected expert. Now, you probably are a respected expert in your field of expertise, what you do in your business or your career. But in the context of speaking, when people want to hear what you have to say, when they connect with your message, because you share value with them and they see that value for themselves, they are eating of your palm because you know how to keep them engaged. What would that mean to you to be in that dark green zone of being a respected expert? Would that make a difference? Would that help you increase and improve your results in life and business? Of course it would. But there is this super zone up here. You can take it even higher than being a respected expert. If you take your ability to inspire and share your value of 8 and above, you can occupy this space of what I call being the visionary guide. When you share your story, your journey, your voice, which is true and unique, but you cause the possibility for other people. You show them what's possible, and you're willing to hold their hand to take them to the promised land. Now, what is the difference between being a respected expert and being a visionary guide? You might ask. It's a fair question. Well, the moment you step up into this top level of being a visionary guide, you make this space available for your audience. You look at them with respect. You recognize their potential, their expertise. Even more than that, you look at them as heroes. You see that bigger picture, that bigger potential for them, and you're willing to guide them to their vision. It's absolutely possible to craft your message in such a way that you inspire people with your voice and you share your profound value in a simple and easy to understand way to get your point across. And as Peter shared with you, we have developed something really exciting that we believe will make such a difference in your life. And I'm going to share with you in just a second what that entails. But first, let's talk a little bit about your future. So when it comes to your future, most people think that the difference between today and sometime in the future, let's say 12 months, where do you want to be in 12 months, is a straight line. But it's not. It's a curve. And it can go either up into your dream future, your dream business, or it can go down into, let's call it mediocrity or worse. Where do you want to be? Well, I presume if you're a conscious person with growth-orientated objectives, you want to be on the green line. But what is the difference between a green and red line? Well, the difference between a green and red line is the difference between drift and decision. So the decision I want to ask you is, are you willing to jump the line? Are you willing to stay on the green line and be committed and disciplined to do whatever is required to take you to your dream future? This is not just about this program, but it's about your life. How intentional are you about designing and creating your life? So whatever decisions you are making, make sure you're conscious of them, because that will help you get to your desired outcome, or drift into something, mediocrity or worse. With that being said, what's the program about? Well, it's called Speak with Impact, as Peter already mentioned, and it's a 6 weeks program, which is going to be really, really exciting. So what's inside it? Just briefly, because we're a little bit short in time. The first session, Peter will talk about why are you speaking, how to establish the purpose and intent of your speech, the objective, to be very clear in your mind and to make sure that you will connect with your audience. And I will share with you why you need to share stories as a way to differentiate yourself massively on the marketplace, build credibility, elevate your brand, and make your brand and your message unique and remarkable to open up people's minds and compel their behavior. Session number 2, Peter will share with you the strategy of how to clarify the point of your message, or the point of your speech, your message. What's your message? Have you heard those people who can say a lot and say nothing really? And you're like, okay, so what's the point? Yeah, exactly. So Peter will share with you how to craft, that message, because that will help you resonate with your audience. And I will share with you the storytelling framework. A lot of people make these common mistakes of either sharing way too many details in a story to make it juicy and visual and interesting, but they get lost in the weeds, or they don't share enough details, just sticking to facts, and it's dry and uncompelling. How do you strike the balance? Well, there are 3 steps that, 3-step formula that you can implement to organize your content, to organize your story, and to create that flow. Session number 3, Peter will help you clarify and write a compelling closure to your speech. You have to begin with the end in mind, because what you're going to say last is what people will remember most. You have to be very intentional if you want to make an impact. And I will share with you the types of stories, because it's not just about entertainment and engaging in a creative project. It's about influence and leveraging the biggest weapon you have at your disposal, the biggest tool, which is stories. How to, connect emotionally with people, how to awaken their possibility, and how to inspire their decisions and compel them to take action. Session number 4, how do you open your speech? Peter Roper will share with you how to capture attention in the beginning, because if you can't get their attention at the beginning, they won't listen to you. They won't stay engaged. And you have to be very strategic and intentional about it. You only have one chance to make the first impression, and you have to make it count. And I will share with you the strategic the strategic approach to storytelling. I will expand upon how do you awaken attention? How do you capture attention? How do you awaken interest and curiosity, build desire, so they want to be part of what you're doing? They want to keep listening to you. How do you compel them to take action? It's all, obviously, everything is in an ethical and authentic way to inspire entertain, educate, and influence your audience. Session number 5, Peter will talk about what should you put in the body of your speech. This is probably one of the most interesting, well, they're all interesting, but fun and easiest part of the speech. But only if you do the right things at the beginning and with your message, what's the point of your presentation, and the ending. So what do you put in the middle? And Peter is master at that. And I will share with you how to generate ideas that stand out. Because look, you are unique, you are one of a kind, but how do you express it in your stories? How do you express it in your presentations? And there are some practical, easy to follow steps of how to originate unique and remarkable ideas that you can take today. And finally, session number 6, I'm a little bit rushing because we are pressed with time, it's all about accountability, plan of action, what you're going to do, what you have done, discussions, questions, and feedback. So if that resonates with you, if that's something that you want to get yourself into, we would like to welcome you in the next year. And the investment, because it's going to be our first founders group, is going to be £697. Peter is going to share the QR code in just a second with you, so you can check it out and see if that is something you would like to engage and dedicate your time. It's going to be fun, and it will massively elevate your results. So, Peter, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, conscious time. We've got a couple of minutes left. Anna, thank you for that presentation. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I think it gives you a flavour of our differing approaches, but with a common goal, if you like. So, as I said before, you've got a younger person, an older person, you've got a male, you've got a female. You've got experience from geography wise. You've got different continents, etc. So you've got a whole bunch of stuff and a lot of experience, proven, tried, tested, proven, practical knowledge and experience. And I think that counts for a lot. Thank you for your kind comments, by the way, particularly Haroon. We're out of time, or I put it across. Haroon that mentioned that I first coached him 20 years ago. Thank you for that, Haroon, as that subtle reminder. It means we're both older. Of course, he will remind me that he is, of course, still younger than me. But that's great. But the point is, I've been doing this quite a while. So has Anna. So if you want somebody that's got experience, knowledge, practical, tried, tested, and proven stuff, go onto the website, take a look at what it tells you, and if it's something you want to sign up to, please do so. If you want to get hold of Anna or I, the contact details are there. We're very easy to get hold of if you want to talk about it some. But I think we're nearly there. So Anna, thank you. For all those that are watching it currently or watching the recording on social media afterwards, thank you for taking 60 minutes of your life out. Hopefully, even if you don't go no farther, we hope that we've shared something with you that's made a difference in your life. And I guess I've got to do it because of when we're recording it. This particular recording is coming up to Christmas. So have a great Christmas or holiday, whatever it is that you're doing. See, I've mentioned the Christmas word. Anna is now hyper excited because she loves Christmas. So there you go. But you've got the thing there. You've got the QR code. It's been brilliant to spend some time with you. I'm going to hit the music now. And it was lovely to spend some time with you. And hopefully we'll see you again in the new year, preferably at the program. And we would love to serve you and help you. So thanks for your time. Anna, again, thank you. And we'll see you again soon. Happy Christmas, everybody.
Happy Christmas.